Good evening and welcome to episode 44 of Engine Talk. And today's episode, I am just super geeked out about this. This is really in my wheelhouse, kind of thing that I love to do. And what it is I'm going to be comparing two engines from a very good time in history, and then showing that some of the stuff that I enjoy doing, the research, and comparing and trying to determine, the actual age of things. So I'm kind of beside myself right now because I've been sitting here for the last 20 minutes preparing and looking at some notes and stuff for this video, and this is just really cool stuff for me. So as you can see on the table, I've got two engines and two magazines. And I've also got my MacBook sitting right next to me with a review article pulled up, because this is kind of how I do research. And before I get into the video itself, I just want to say that probably from 1988 until, at least 1999, I had a subscription to RC Modeler magazine. So that was a decade or so, maybe more than a decade, of monthly RC Modeler magazines. Now, these magazines are huge. They're thick, they're full color, they're great tools for research. And for many years, I kept those magazines, and I traveled across the country, and I was always moving those magazines. And then one move, I finally just said, the hell with this. I'm done with moving all these heavy magazines, and I gave them away. Talk about the biggest mistake I ever made, one of them anyway. So in the last few years, or last year or so, many of you will know that I have been going online and had purchased, I've got maybe 8 or 10 various ones that I found affordable that were in a time frame that I thought was interesting. So anyway, I used to have a whole decade's worth of these, and you would not believe they were so worn out, because I would sit there and go and look through them, and it was just unbelievable. It's one of the best model magazines. It is the best model magazine ever printed, in my opinion. So on the table, I've got a Magnum Pro 45 FSR ABC engine, and I've got a Royal 45 RC ABC engine. Now this one just says 45 RC ABC. It goes in, it says Schnurl ported. This one says FSR /ABC RC. So the thing with these engines is they both came out almost exactly at the same time frame, and I've got proof and evidence of that both in this magazines and on this review article. And as I sit here and speak, I'm not sure where to begin with this, but I think what I'm going to do is I want to do a comparison of these engines. But before I do a comparison of the engines, I think I want to go in and talk a little bit more about the research that I've been doing. So let me put these off on the floor for a second here. Now, the first amount of research I'm going to do here, and I'll put a link to it on the video here, is a review article from Clarence Lee. So it was an RC Modeler, but if you're ever familiar with RC Modeler magazine, you'll know that they never ever put the date anywhere on the pages. So when somebody does a scan of these reports, there's no way you can know what the date is. The only way you can know what the date is if you look inside the front cover and on the cover here, inside and there, and that's it. So I've got this Clarence Lee Magnum Pro 40 FSR ABC. So both of these things that I'm going to be referencing, or at least this one here this article talks about the Magnum Pro 40 FSR engine, but the 45 and the 40 came out at the same time. So I was just reading this, and I'm just going to read this quick little blurb here on this Magnum Pro 40 FSR ABC engine. It says, "The first thing I noticed upon receiving the engine, and I imagine many of you have also, was the close resemblance to the Royal Products 40. Internal inspection upon disassembly. And the internal inspection upon disassembly showed the engines to be virtually identical and actually sharing many of the same internal parts, as well as using the same head and back covers, although the crankshafts also appear to be identical. The Magnum crank does have a slightly different opening and closing intake period. The Magnum with a 39 degree to 52 degree versus 35 to 45 for the Royal. Other than this, the small cosmetic changes to the case and carburetor, the two engines are identical. So he's saying right there that these two engines, basically the two I'm going to be showing here, are identical. Further, it goes on, this is actually more than just a coincidence, as both engines are made by Thunder Tiger. The two engines also show considerable OS influence, being more or less clones of the OS Max 40 FSR. The Chinese seem to be doing to the Japanese what the Japanese have been doing to the US for many, many years, more or less duplicating a design, making improvements, and then selling the product at a lower cost. So that is the blurb from this review article that I just kind of threw out there, and I'll link this. So basically, Clarence Lee saying the two engines I just took off the table are identical, and we're going to go into that. So the first magazine here I've got, I probably should do it like this, because let's do it more in chronological order here. This one is the January 1988 issue of RC Modeler magazine. Now, one of the things you have to understand about RC Modeler magazine, for many of you newer to the hobby, and you probably many of you may have never even held one of these in your hand, and that's a crying shame, is that RC Modeler was known, and I loved it so much because at least 50% of the magazine was advertisements. And I was in a shopping mode when I first got into the hobby. So I cared very little. I just saw something that looked interesting. I cared very little about the articles other than the engine reviews, because that's really all I was really interested in. And now I just was flipping through here and I saw an engine that, crap. Now I'm going to have to remember to go back and see it. I'm digressing here a little bit, but I saw something that caught my eye, which is not uncommon. I mean, you flip through these magazines, you're like, oh, I didn't notice this before. And, well, it just happened. But anyway, so 90%, 50% of these magazines are, advertisements. And then they have these nice little table of contents here, and you always go for, what's the review? I would always go straight for what was the engine review of the month. Now, this particular one is an Enya R120 4-cycle. That's a cool one. So I didn't even know that I got that review. That's a kick-ass review to have in this. I don't know what it was that attracted me or had me buy this particular magazine from eBay. Maybe it was the price, but I don't know that, because a lot of eBay people don't show you this. They may just show you this, and that's not enough to know what's in there. So good sellers will show you the first page so you can say, oh, okay, no, I've got that, I want to see that. So anyway, I digress. I just get really excited about these magazines. So most of these magazines are all about, advertisements. But if you go in the back, usually it's one of the back pages, you've got the advertisers index. And this is where I would always go first and say, like Global Hobby. So Magnum Pro engines were being distributed by Global Hobby distributors. And in this particular one, I don't see Global Hobby listed at all. There is no Global Hobby listed. So does that mean that Global Hobby either couldn't afford advertising in January of 1988 or they didn't exist in 1988? I don't know, because you'll see that there's Global Hobby in this one, which is a February 1989 issue, just a year later. So you have to sometimes know, and it's like Royal was distributed by Royal Products out of Denver, Colorado. They didn't go through Hobby Shack or Global or Tower Hobbies or anything like that, so they were on their own. So what I did was I was like, okay, well, let's look at the Royal products. Where's Royal? Royal products. So Royal would usually do this. They'd have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different one-page ads. And other vendors would have 2 or 3 page ads all in sequence, like a catalog, mini catalog. But anyway, so I was flipping through this, and let's see, the first one I came to was this right here. This is Hobby Shack. So apparently Magnum was being distributed by Hobby Shack, and then they went to Global, and I didn't realize that. I just was looking, because I started flipping through to see, well, where is it? So here we go. We've got a Magnum, and I know I don't have my camera in 4K. But here's the Magnum Pro 45 ABC FSR RC with muffler, $79. So we've got validation here that the Magnum Pro engine was available to the market in 1988. I don't know that I have an 87 magazine. I can go up there and check and see. So anyway, I'm happy with the fact that I know for a fact that Magnum this engine that I've got here was out in 1988. So here's something else to look at. This is interesting, which maybe I'm looking at something here. I'm looking at this picture, and this is one of the FSRs, and I can't tell which one that is. I think that's the 40 or 45, either way. And I'm looking at the exhaust here. And the exhaust that came with the one that is in the box with mine does not look like this. That is the exhaust that looks like that came with the Royal. So now I'm beginning to wonder, is the Magnum that I've got actually stock? Is the muffler that came in there actually with it? Because this clearly shows, well, we'll see. I'll show you this when I get to pulling the engines out. So I've got another tab here. So Magnum 1988 right here. And what is this? Who is this vendor? It's another one of those Peck's Hobby Supplies. Peck's Hobby Supplies, Mountain View, California. Apparently they were selling Royal, because here we go. Here's Royal right here. Royal 45 ABC with muffler. $60.95. So we've got validation here that Royal and Magnum were both in the market in 1988. Okay, so I'm good with that. So I'll just say, okay, 88 is when they hit the market. Is that true or not? It's at least valid. Maybe they were in 87. This is January 88. If I have an 87 RC Modeler magazine, I'll go back and check. But so for all intents and purposes, we'll just say 1988. And then in this 1989 catalog, this is what, or catalog, it's like a catalog, issue of RC Modeler magazine. I've got this marked here. Look at this. Here's your Magnum ad. And that is the engine I've got in that box right there. This is the Magnum Pro 45 FSR. So there you have it. And it's oh, look at that. That is, okay, so this is interesting information because look closely at this muffler or this exhaust. And see, here's the vent nipple, and then look right here and right there, there's screws. And that's going to be important here when I show you, because now I'm beginning to really question whether or not that muffler that came with my engine is stock. And what I just showed before, where the end of that exhaust was all polished off in that other image, and then these with the screws, let's go straight through the engines now. And I'll show you what I've got here. So now, and see, that's the other thing, is it's like, I like doing this stuff because you think you score this new in box engine, and then you have to wonder, well, is it all original? And sometimes you can tell that it is, but like I'm doing now, this research is telling me that either a change was made or this isn't all original. So let's just open them both up. So here's the Magnum, and it didn't come with any foam insert. The previous owner may have just got rid of it or whatever, so I don't know. All I can say is that's how that, I don't know that that's how Magnums came. They might have come more like what you're gonna see here, which is, you know, this one is complete. It's got everything, where you've got like foam inserts and all that kind of stuff, and like this type of thing. Did Magnums come like this? I don't know, maybe. But see, since we were just talking about exhaust, let's talk about exhaust. Here's the exhaust from the Royal, and it's exactly what I was pointing out. The very first magazine, 1988, if you looked at that image there, you could see that the end of the muffler was kind of turned. It was bead blasted or whatever, and then it was kind of polished or whatever. And it's got these screws that hold it together, which was shown in that last ad. So that is interesting because this is the exhaust that came in this package. Now, like I said, is it all original? I don't know if it is now, because this is the muffler that came with that, and it's very different. Very different. I mean, they both, have the same mounting, and they both fit the engines, obviously, but the design is very different. Look at the tail sections of them. I mean, totally different. So now I'm curious, because this seems to match so perfectly in color and everything. I'm like, well, now I don't know. Is that really the muffler that goes with that engine? So let's take these engines out and the carburetors. And carburetor and engine. And we'll do a little bit closer inspection of these things, because it gets it's cool. It's just fun. I mean, I just enjoy this kind of stuff immensely. So let me zoom in here. So here we go. Now, I don't have the high-speed needle screwed into this Magnum, but it is here. And it is an open package, but this has everything in there. There's a high-speed needle in there. So let's just kind of look at these carbs. They are different. The casting of the carbs is different because this has got some different angles there. Blockier looking carb. I don't know if that one of those images in the magazine is going to get a close enough image of that. But this section, even this section is different. The front end here where the high-speed needle goes in. So these carb bodies are totally different. However, they both incorporate throttle stop screws, or throttle stop or / barrel retention screws, as all engines did back then, and the same type of low-speed needle setup. In fact, these throttle arms are not identical either. Both, they're silver, but this is the Royal one. Now I just turned it. It's got a little bit different configuration there. But other than that, oh, look at this. This is different. Okay, so this is Royal. This one goes over here. So look at this. Look at how those openings are. This opening looks bigger. This one looks more oval. It's not even circular. Is that design, or is that a screw up? I don't know. That's very interesting, because this clearly has a larger diameter opening. Did they choke this one down intentionally? Is this a manufacturing defect? I don't know. But that is very curious, because that's something I hadn't noticed until just now. So, let's look at these engines. I would say, aside from some casting things, these are pretty darn close. This one's got a few more fins. It looks like it might have like 2 to 3 more cooling fins. And of course, Royals are known for always having these chromed out or stainless steel looking parts. Now, Clarence Lee's review said that the rear covers on both the 40 and 40s on both of these engines was identical. Maybe they are, but this Royal one, they've polished it a bit. And this one actually says made in Taiwan on it, and this one says made in Taiwan also, deep inside there. So maybe those rear covers are the same. It's just that they did a little finish work on that one to make it look a little shinier. But other than that, they both have, oh, that's interesting. That is very interesting. I thought in his review he said the heads were the same. But this head has a brass insert, brass or bronze, I don't remember which they use, glow plug insert, and this Magnum does not. So there's a difference. Other than that, the head cutouts look the same. These sides of the engines look the same. So I got both of these prop things off of here because I wanted to show you this. I thought this was curious. So we know these were made in Taiwan, which is Taiwan People's Republic of China at that time. And they're OS clones, obviously, copies. So I started looking at this because I'm, big into bearings, as you know. And I was looking at this. I had to get my magnifier on, or this little, what is this? A 10x, little 10x magnifier. and a flashlight so I could read these things. The interesting thing about both of these front bearings is they're the same size, which obviously is not interesting. It's just because they're the same engine, basically. But these bearings are Japanese bearings. Each one of them says Japan on them. And one says SMT. And I don't know what this one, I think this one had another letters on there also, but I don't think it was SMT. But they both have the word Japan on them and a number and then R6 instead of saying like MR6 for a metric radial bearing like Boca's designation. It just said a number like 7R6. So I know that both of these are going to have the exact same bearings in too. But this is just some of the stuff that I really just kind of geek out over is the research, and it was just the icing on the cake to know that I had these two magazines that I could validate a lot of the time in history portion of this. So another thing I noticed about these two carbs is the tops here, the inlets, are both kind of polished up. Also, see that's like a matte finish here. This one's got the Royal logo on it, but both of them have that same little turned, shiny look to them. Both of the inlets look the same, but these bottom things are just, that's kind of curious to me. But anyway, so this has just been one of those, I'm going to call it a walk down memory lane, investigation. This is the kind of detective work that I do all the time to try to figure out, timelines and histories and similarities of all these engines that come across this table. So this is the stuff that I think is fun to do. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all learned something new, and now I'm sure any of you that have these engines are probably going to go and dig them out and say, oh yeah, look at that, that's cool. Or you go dig into your RC Modeler magazine, and maybe I taught people that have never seen an RC Modeler magazine what they've missed out on, because I don't know when they went out of publication, but it was an unfortunate day when that happened. Anyway, thank you all for watching.